What did you do next?
I already told you.
What was that?
Stab, 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 stab.
Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Anne, but I also go by my nickname Nini. I like to focus on Midwest true crime because I'm a Minnesota farmer's daughter. Today we're going to go to Wisconsin and talk about the attempted murder that is more commonly known as the Slender Man stabbing. This case was recommended by Meowser0, so thank you very much for that suggestion, and you have the cutest name and profile photo. It's a shocking one because the victim was only 12 years old, but it's even more shocking because the people who tried to kill her were also just 12 years old. This case starts back in June 2009 on the website Creepypasta, which is a forum where people share scary pictures and stories. The site held a Photoshop contest and asked people to take ordinary photos and make them creepy. A man who lived in Florida, Eric Knudsen, created 2 photos of a character he had created, Slender Man. He took real photos of children and photoshopped Slender Man into the backgrounds. He created Slender Man, who was a tall, thin man wearing a suit who had a featureless face. He sometimes has tentacles. People loved this and started popping him into all kinds of photos, and then a story arose based on him. He was a creature who lived in the woods and stalked children and kidnapped and murdered them. The story evolved where if you are a servant to him, called a proxy, then Slender Man would not hurt you or your family. Proxies lived with Slender Man in his mansion in the middle of the woods. The legend was that if you knew about Slender Man, he knew about you.
Now you're mine to escape this time. You feel that chill running up your spine. Don't look twice. I won't play nice. It's finally time for you to pay the price.
Slender Man was all over the internet. People were making YouTube videos about him. He was just hugely popular. We'll jump over to Waukesha, Wisconsin, which is the largest suburb of Milwaukee and has about 70,000 people. This is where Morgan Geyser lived. She was born on May 16, 2002. She would later get a younger brother. Morgan had a huge imagination and she loved fantasy worlds. When she was 11, she still believed in Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. Morgan was a loner. Classmates considered her weird and odd. She sometimes would chase after kids and bark at them. She'd often be found talking to herself. So she didn't have a lot of friends, but that didn't seem to bother her. She enjoyed escaping into her own world. She didn't seem to care what other people thought of her, which is actually a fantastic quality to have. By the time she started middle school, kids bullied Morgan. I don't think I'm stating the obvious, but bullying damages a child's mental health. This probably pushed Morgan to go deeper into her fantasy world. It didn't help that Morgan already had unstable mental health. She had been seeing hallucinations since she was 3 years old.
They'll stay straight forever.
She would see colors melting down the walls. She believed she talked to fictional characters from Harry Potter, but they weren't characters to her. They were real people. She believed that Vulcan mind control was real and she had it. Morgan's mother, Angie, said they did notice that something might be off with her daughter when they would watch movies together and something bad would happen to one of the characters. Remember Bambi and how traumatizing it was to see Bambi's mother get killed? Angie said when Morgan saw that scene, she wasn't sad. She told Bambi to run and save yourself. Morgan's father was schizophrenic and she would later be diagnosed with it as well. I was watching a documentary on this case, and Morgan's father talked about what it's like to be a schizophrenic, and I thought it was very important to hear.
I wish that I could talk to her about, I have right now, there's it's patterns of light and geometric shapes that's always racing, always, right now. Everything seems normal to me because this is my everything. This is how I've always seen things. You can see it and it's not real. It totally doesn't matter because you're still terrified of it. I know the devil's not in the back seat, but the devil is in the back seat.
Morgan did have one friend by her side. Payton Isabel Leutner was born in Wisconsin on February 13th, 2002. She has a younger brother named Caden. She is a huge animal lover and particularly loves cats. She loved to go to the local animal shelter and play with the kitties there. Payton had known Morgan since kindergarten, but they didn't become best friends until the 4th grade. Payton noticed Morgan always sat by herself and felt bad for her, so she started sitting with her and a friendship developed. There was another girl in their grade named Payton, so Morgan started calling Payton Bella. And you will hear that when I play the interrogation clips, that Payton is mostly referred to as Bella. Morgan and Payton were very close and did everything together. However, their friendship changed when they got into the 6th grade. Anissa Weier, who was born on November 10th, 2001, moved with her family to Waukesha, and they moved into the same apartment building that Morgan lived in. Anissa had an older half-brother and half-sister and a younger brother. Anissa and Morgan started riding the school bus together since they lived in the same building. Like Morgan, Anissa was kind of a loner, but she did have a small circle of friends. Her parents divorced when she was in elementary school, and that adds stress to a child's life. Anissa spent a lot of time on her iPad by herself. She enjoyed scary stories and creepy creatures and watched a ton of YouTube vids on those topics. Just like Morgan, Anissa was bullied a lot. But whereas the bullying didn't seem to bother Morgan, it did bother Anissa. One of Anissa's teachers said she cried over the bullying at least once a week. Anissa and Morgan's friendship grew because each of them knew what it was like to be bullied, and they could bond over it. They also had a shared interest in creepy, fantasy, mythical things. Morgan started inviting Anissa to hang out with she and Payton all the time. Payton didn't really like Anissa because she felt Anissa was mean to her, but she didn't want to lose her friendship with Morgan, so Payton had to tolerate being around her too. Payton wasn't into the scary and creepy things that Morgan and Anissa enjoyed. So when the girls learned about Slender Man, Anissa and Morgan were fascinated by him, but Payton was like, no, that's weird. Because of Morgan's hallucinations and mindset, she thought he was real. Morgan and Anissa's obsession with Slender Man grew. They read everything they could on him, watched all the videos they could find on him. Morgan told Anissa that she had seen Slender Man lurking behind things in person, so then Anissa began to think he was real too. Anissa and Morgan would spend hours on the internet, and to me it makes sense why they would. The real world bullied and didn't accept them, but the internet didn't do that. Part of the legend of Slender Man was that he kidnapped and killed children, but if you became one of his proxies, he would not hurt you or your family. Anissa and Morgan wanted to become proxies so then they could live with Slender Man in his mansion in the forest and be protected. But according to the legend, in order to spare your life, you have to take somebody else's life. The person they planned to sacrifice in order to do this was Payton. Part of the reason they chose her was because Payton didn't believe Slender Man was real. On May 30th, 2014, the girls went roller skating and had a slumber party at Morgan's house to celebrate Morgan's recent 12th birthday. Payton and Anissa were also 12 at the time. Normally, Morgan tried to stay up all night when they had sleepovers, but that night she wanted to go to bed early. The reason Morgan wanted to go to bed early was because she and Anissa were planning to kill Payton in her sleep. Earlier that day, Anissa and Morgan packed a bag with clothes and pictures of their families because they didn't want to forget what their family looked like after they moved to Slender Man's mansion. As Payton slept, the plan was to duct tape her mouth and then they would stab her. Then they'd take off to the mansion. But they ended up being too tired from roller skating to do that, so they had to come up with a plan B. The next morning, May 31st, 2014, Payton woke up and found she was alone in Morgan's bedroom. She found Morgan and Anissa in another room by a computer. Morgan then asked her mom if they could play in the park. Morgan put some snacks in the bag they had packed the day before, and the girls headed out to David's park. As they walked to the park, Morgan lifted her shirt to show Anissa that she had stuck a knife in her waistband. Once at the park, they went into the park bathroom, and they were going to stab Payton there because there was a drain that the blood could go down. Morgan and Anissa went back and forth, and neither wanted to stab Payton. Anissa shoved Payton against the concrete wall, hoping to knock her out, but it didn't work. Payton was mad about that, understandably, but stayed in the park with the girls. Morgan and Anissa suggested they go down the street a little from the park into a wooded area and play hide and seek. Once they were in the trees, Anissa suggested that Payton lay down and cover herself with sticks and leaves to hide. Payton did so. Anissa then told Morgan to go ballistic. Morgan jumped on top of Payton and started stabbing her over and over and over. Payton started screaming. Morgan ended up stabbing Payton 19 times in her arms, legs, and trunk. Anissa told Payton to lay down because she wouldn't bleed as much and they would go get her help, so they left Payton laying in the woods. But they had no plan to get help for Payton. They walked to a Walmart and washed the blood off the knife in their hands. Their clothes still had Payton's blood on it. Payton was lying there, bleeding profusely. She somehow found the strength to make her way out of the trees to the side of Big Bend Road and lay down in the grass. A guy was out biking that morning, and for some lucky reason, he decided to go past a barricade, even though it was a dead end. He saw Payton lying in the grass and called 911 around 9:45 a.m., which was about 20 minutes after Payton had been stabbed.
Hi, sir. So are you with this 12-year-old female?
Yes, she says she's having trouble breathing. She said she was stabbed multiple times.
Is she awake?
She's awake.
Is she breathing?
Yeah, she's breathing. She said she can take shallow breaths. She's alert.
Okay, stay with her. We're sending the police department. Don't hang up, okay? Where are the wounds? Do you see where the wounds are?
No, I don't know if I should be rolling her over and checking or not. I'm bothering you at all? My shade? Okay. You're very sorry. Who did that to you? Or don't you want to talk? There's a squad car coming now.
Okay, the squad car coming? Okay, flag the squad car down, protect her.
Payton was able to tell police who had stabbed her. She was then rushed to the hospital and into surgery, and a search began for Anissa and Morgan. Their plan was to walk to Nicollet National Forest. That could be Nicollet, I've heard it pronounced both ways. This is where they thought Slender Man lived in his mansion. But this was 300 miles away from Waukesha, and the girls were planning to walk there. A little before 3 p.m., the girls went into Steinhafel's furniture to refill their water bottles, and then they sat in the grass by the side of the road along I-94, which was about 5 miles from where they had stabbed Payton. Someone passing by recognized the girls and called police. Police arrived, and the girls were brought into custody. Despite being stabbed 19 times, Payton survived. Her surgery lasted 6 hours, and she stayed in the hospital about a week and then went home. It truly was a miracle that she was not killed, because one of the stab wounds had entered her heart, and if it had been a millimeter deeper, it would have hit one of her major arteries, and she would have been dead within a minute. Police searched the girls' bedrooms. In Morgan's room, they found a lot of writings and drawings that were very disturbing. They were about Slender Man or Morgan expressing her wish to die or kill people. They also found Barbies that had been marked and mutilated. They found searches on Morgan's computer for how to get away with murder and what kind of insane am I. They found a supply list the girls had made of things they needed to kill Payton and travel to Slender Man's mansion. They had been planning to kill Payton for 6 months. Morgan and Anissa were interrogated separately. They're kind of hard interrogations to watch because the girls are so young. I can't imagine how hard it was for the investigators to have to interrogate a 12-year-old for attempted murder. Both girls were very open and honest about why Payton had been stabbed, and they said it was because of Slender Man. But they both blamed each other for the actual stabbing. There really is a stark difference between the demeanor of Anissa and the demeanor of Morgan during these interrogations. Anissa cried and talked about how guilty she felt. Morgan showed absolutely no remorse.
Tell me what happened.
So, there's this website called the Creepypasta Wiki.
Okay.
It's full of, like, horror stories that are meant to purposely scare you. One of them, called Slenderman. Morgan said, "Hey, Anissa, we should be proxies." I was like, "Okay, how would we do that?" She said, "We have to kill Bella because we had to supposedly prove ourselves worthy to Slender." I was surprised, but like also kind of excited because I wanted proof that he existed, because there are a bunch of skeptics out there saying that he didn't exist. He can be anywhere from 6 feet to 14 feet tall. He doesn't have a face. His skin is white. At his own will, he can exploit these tendrils from his back, strangle his victims. He targets children most. I was really scared, knowing that Slender could easily kill my whole family in 3 seconds. I was scared because A, I would never see my family again, and B, I was kind of hopeful to prove that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't seeing things, because even I saw Slender a few times, and I think that was probably my mind playing tricks on me.
She gives you the knife and says, "You do it."
And then I give it back to her and say, "You do it, go ballistic." So I started walking away, and then like when I was 5 feet away. I said now, and Morgan said, "Don't be afraid, I'm only a little kitty cat." Morgan jumped on top of Bella and started stabbing her repeatedly, and that's when I turned around because I couldn't stand to see that. The whole time, Payton was screaming, saying stuff like, "I hate you guys, I'll never forgive you, and I trusted you." And, sorry. So we told her we were gonna get help, but we really weren't. We were gonna run and let her pass away. Then he couldn't eat anything because I was still thinking of Bella laying in the forest area where we left her dying. So we were walking, and then I had a total nervous breakdown and blamed Morgan for everything. I said, "You stabbed her, you wanted to do this." I actually said, "I've had enough of this, I want to call her mom, I want to go home." And Morgan said, "If you do that, you'll spend your life in prison. Either that or be executed." Do you know what happened to Bella?
Your friend?
She's not Anissa, she's the one who was stabbed. Is she dead?
I don't know. She was taken to the hospital.
I was just wondering.
You like Bella pretty much? Have you ever been mad at her?
She was my only friend for a long time, because
Why would you hurt your only friend?
it was necessary.
Did you guys talk about doing this beforehand?
Anissa told me we had to.
Why?
She said that he'd kill our families.
Who's he?
A man. I didn't know him, but Anissa knew him. We tried to find Slender Man,
Who's Slender Man?
this tall, faceless man who preys on children. Anissa thinks he's real, and she also thinks Jeff the Killer is real.
Where'd you guys get the knife from?
My kitchen. Anissa did.
So who left the house with it?
I think Anissa did. It was in the bag. One day she just told me that we had to.
What do you mean she told you you had to?
I mean, she told us we had to kill her.
Who did?
Anissa.
How many times do you think you stabbed her?
I don't know. It happened very quickly. All I heard was screaming. We refilled her water bottles and went to the bathroom and washed the blood off our hands. Will I regret giving you this information later?
You know, this information was used to try to get you some help. So why did you pick Payton?
I didn't pick her.
Who picked her?
Whoever Anissa was talking about.
What were you trying to do with her when you stabbed her?
Kill her. I might as well just say it. We were trying to kill her. This is going to get me arrested, isn't it? I won't take back any of it. One time I got suspended because I accidentally brought a hammer to school.
Why'd you bring the hammer to school?
Because I was cleaning my room and I shoved it in my backpack, so I know that it's important to tell the truth. I figure you have access to all those files if you need more information, so I might as well tell you.
You're a pretty smart girl.
I wanted to be locked up so that I couldn't hurt her, but that time passed and now I'm in here because we were careless. And then we lied to her. Anissa said that she'd go get help. I didn't have anything to do with the lying. Well, that was all Anissa. People who trust you become very gullible. And it was sort of sad. I think Anissa stabbed her first and then I continued and then she was like, "Morgan, make sure she doesn't escape." And then I was like,
So you think that it was Anissa first?
Mm-hmm.
You sure?
Yeah. Not really. Sort of confusing because I've been trying to block out the screams all day. It didn't feel like anything, it was like air. Please don't cut off my head.
Nobody's gonna cut off your head.
Are you going to put me in prison and I'm gonna rot and die? It was weird, I felt no remorse. I thought I would.
You didn't feel remorse?
Mm-hmm. I actually felt nothing. Mommy always says that whatever you do catches up to you eventually. And it did. I wanted to hurt people before, but they're not nice to me, so they deserve it. It didn't work this time, obviously, and we're never going to try again, because I hope I never have to see Anissa again.
Originally, the plan was to duct tape and stab her, but you didn't think it was a good idea?
I thought that we'd just make a lot of noise, blah, 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 blah. Because you can still scream if your mouth is shut. I tricked Anissa into falling asleep, telling her that I'd wake her up 2 in the morning so that she could feel Bella. I wanted to give her at least one more morning.
What did you do next?
I already told you.
What was that?
Stab, 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 stab.
So then after the bathroom, where did you go down?
I already told you.
Where is that?
Over by the trees at the dead end.
And what did you do there?
Stabby, stab, 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 stab.
And then what happened?
Are you trying to do this over and over again and see if I tell the story differently?
I'm just trying to make sure that I get it right, that I don't want to make any mistakes. Did you feel bad? Have you just stabbed one of your best friends?
I thought about it, but then I decided that remorse will get me nowhere. It's easier to live without regrets if you can just decide that you don't want to feel.
Morgan was charged with attempted first-degree murder, and Anissa was charged with attempted second-degree murder. There was a lot of debate about if the girls should be tried as adults or juveniles, but they were eventually tried as adults. Anissa was diagnosed with depression, delusional disorder, and shared psychotic disorder. Morgan showed a lot of disturbing behavior after being arrested. Correctional officers often saw her talking to herself. She would keep ants as pets, pretend to be a cat. She still had hallucinations and often saw unicorns. She would have conversations with people who were not there. Up until the trial, Morgan was back and forth between jail and a mental health facility in Winnebago, where she was the youngest patient there. In October of 2014, Morgan was diagnosed with early onset childhood schizophrenia. But she wasn't put on any medication or given any kind of treatment until January of 2016. Over a year after she was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Imagine being diagnosed with severe diabetes, but your doctor doesn't put you on insulin until over a year later. Like, that wouldn't happen. For that entire time, Morgan was still out of touch with reality. After finally being put on medication and her mind start to clear, she did express remorse for stabbing Payton. Like I said, there was a lot of fighting in the courts about whether or not the girls should be tried as juveniles or adults. If they had been tried in juvenile court and found guilty, they would have been sent to a juvenile detention center for just 2 years and then let out on supervised release until they were 18 and then just go on with their lives. But in August of 2016, a judge made the official decision that they would be tried as adults. Morgan pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. The following month, Anissa did the same. About a year later, in August of 2017, Anissa changed her plea to guilty, but to attempted second-degree homicide as a party to a crime with use of a deadly weapon. She went to trial in September to determine if her mental condition held her legally responsible. 10 out of 12 jurors found Anissa not guilty due to insanity.
I do hold myself accountable for this. I will do whatever I have to do to make sure that I don't get any sort of delusion or whatever again. I deeply regret everything that happened that day. I know that nothing I say is going to make this right, Your Honor, and nothing I say is going to fix what I broke. I'm just hoping that by holding myself somewhat accountable and making myself responsible for what I took part in that day, I can be responsible and make sure this doesn't happen again. I'm never going to let this happen again. I know you've heard that before and you're probably going to hear it again, but it's the truth. And I'm sorry. Morgan and I decided that we would make an attempt to fulfill the plan at the park. We were just playing on the playground for a while. After a while, we went into the bathroom. Morgan told me to stab Payton. I told her that I couldn't do it. A while later, we went into the woods. That's when Morgan asked me whether or not she should do it. And I just wanted it to be over with, so I said, "Go berserk, do what you have to do." Morgan jumped on top of her and stabbed her repeatedly. Afterwards, I told Payton to lay down and that she would lose blood slower, pardon my slip up. Then Morgan and I left and ran.
Well, why did you develop the plan to kill?
I thought that it was just about proving that this fictional character existed. I thought it was just about proving that something most people thought wasn't real was.
Who are you talking about?
The character?
Right.
Slender Man.
What motivated you to conclude that you had to kill someone in order to follow through with whatever program you had with Slender Man?
Morgan came to me one day telling me that we should prove that Slender Man existed, and I asked her how, and she said we had to kill somebody, and I said okay, because I thought it was just a joke, honestly. I didn't think it was actually going to happen, but it obviously did.
She was sentenced to 25 years to life in a state psychiatric institute with supervision until she is 37. Morgan was set to go to trial in October of 2017, but the month before, she pleaded guilty as charged but not criminally liable.
Anissa and I took PL into the forest and said that we were going to play hide and seek. Anissa said that she couldn't do it and that I had to. I came up from behind her, and I jumped on her, and then I stabbed her.
So did PL fall to the ground?
Yes.
And after she's on the ground, where were you?
On top of her.
How did you stab her? How did you do that?
I stabbed her with the knife that I had taken from my house.
And what part of her body did you stab her?
Everywhere.
She was sentenced to 40 years to life in a state psychiatric institute, either until she turns 53 or until her symptoms go away, whichever comes first. Her lawyer submitted a petition in 2020 to have Morgan retried as a juvenile and saying that she should have been charged with attempted second-degree murder instead of first, but that was denied. In November 2020, when Anissa was 19, she filed a petition in court asking for conditional release because she did not pose a significant risk of bodily harm to herself or others. She was evaluated by 3 mental health professionals over the next couple months. In March of 2021, she submitted a letter to the court saying she was deeply regretful for the agony, pain, and fear she had caused not only to Payton, but to the community. She said in the letter, quote, "I hate my actions from May 31st, but through countless hours of therapy, I no longer hate myself for them," unquote. On September 13th, 2021, Anissa was released, but she had several stipulations. She has to live with her dad, wear a GPS monitor at all times, and cannot leave Waukesha County without permission. Her internet activity is monitored, and she cannot be on any social media. She has to take medication and attend counseling and be escorted by a caseworker to those sessions. She will be under supervision until she is 37 years old. Some people think it's not fair that Anissa was let out because some people think she was the mastermind behind everything and that she manipulated a mentally unstable Morgan into stabbing Payton. I could kind of see that being true, but I don't know. To me, Anissa does seem truly remorseful. So I don't get the impression that she's this manipulative psychopath. And I'm not saying Morgan is a psychopath. Morgan is just a schizophrenic. There's a difference between being a schizophrenic and being a psychopath. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. Do you think Morgan was the mastermind, or do you think Anissa was the mastermind? The people of Wisconsin rallied around Payton. The governor declared Wednesday, August 13th, 2014 as Purple Hearts for Healing Day and encouraged people to wear purple that day to honor Payton because that was her favorite color. And I just realized I have purple nail polish on. I did not plan that. The governor praised her strength and determination. The city of Madison held a bratwurst festival on August 29th to raise money towards Payton's medical cost. Over $70,000 was raised. In October 2019, Payton spoke to 2020. She actually said she was grateful for what she had gone through because she said she wouldn't know who she was today if she hadn't gone through it. She has mostly preferred living a private life ever since. She has graduated high school and is attending college. It's very much a case about mental health, especially adolescent mental health. I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.